In this video, I'll be showing you how to solve the 5x5. So this method will be very similar to the one that we used to solve a 4x4. And for this method, it is important that you know how to solve a 3x3. So the first step is to solve all the centers. And what you want to do first is pick a color, and we'll just choose white because that's what we always do. You want to locate the middle of that center, so the white middle is right here. So what we want to do is first make a center bar, and we can see we already have a piece here, so let's try to find another piece and put it here. So we can see there's a white piece right here. So we turn that twice, and we have a bar. So now we just want to make 2 more bars, so we can put 1 bar here and 1 bar here. So we can make these bars anywhere on the cube. So here we have 2 white pieces, and here we have another white piece. So what we can do is we can turn this like this and turn it up so that this forms a bar. And now we can just pair that up with this. So now for the next bar, we can see that we have a white piece here. And you always want to find the middle of the bar first and then build the corners off, because it's much easier to do it that way than to like have the corners sort of together and try to insert the middle. So what we can do here is move it up, turn this, and then move it out of the way. Now to insert this up here, we can just turn it here, and by doing so, we are able to turn it twice. So form a bar, and then turn it twice. So now we can just insert it. So there we have solved the white center. Let's do the yellow center, because you always want to solve one center and then solve the opposite. Now to insert it on the top, you don't want to just go like this, because then you're going to have to move this down somehow. What you want to do is move it up so that it pushes this bar out of the way, turn it twice, move it back down. So like that, we've solved the yellow center. So now we can just go ahead and solve 2 centers that are right next to each other. So for example, we can solve the blue one here and the orange one here. So let's just go ahead and do that. So now we're down to the last 2 centers, and solving these last 2 centers can be kind of tricky. You want to make sure that they are right next to each other. So if you've solved like blue and green, and orange and red are unsolved, then it's going to be much harder. So you want them to be right next to each other. So we know this is red because that's the opposite of orange, and this should be green. So what we can do here is first solve as much as we possibly can of these centers. So we have 1 bar here, and we can just insert this down here, even though that moves this out of the way. So we do this, turn it twice, move this up. Now, so what we can do here is if there's a few pieces like left behind, there is a pattern that we can like sort of follow. It's not really an algorithm, but we can follow it to fix the centers. So for example, if we want this piece to go right here, since this belongs right here and this belongs right there, we can just move this down so that it lines up with this. So move this down, turn the front counterclockwise, move this down, because notice how when we move this down, this piece goes here. We turned it, it goes here, so you move it down. And you turn the front clockwise, you move it up, you turn the front clockwise, and you move this up, because that's where the corner was. So now you've solved that piece. And so for this piece to go right here, we can do the same pattern. Now we've solved all of the centers. So in our next step, what we want to do is solve all of these edge pieces. So notice how this one is like really close to being solved. It just needs another blue and white piece right here. So what we can do is we can just put white on the bottom, middle on the top, and we can use the middle slices as a way of pairing our edges. So this is going to be the same method we use to pair our edges in our 4x4, except obviously it's going to be harder and take longer. So what we can do is, well, first we have this piece already, so we can just start with this edge piece and look for the next white and blue edge piece, which is right here. So what we can do is move it to the side and try to get it like on this slice. So we have the edge piece here, and we have the remaining piece right here. So notice how when we turn it, they're not aligned. So if you recall our flipping algorithm from the 4x4, you can just do it to flip this. And now that it's here and its edge piece is over here, we can just turn to make the edge piece, move it up, move an unsolved edge piece in its slot, move that down, and fix the centers. So now, as you can see, we have solved an edge piece. So let's go ahead and do that to all of the other edge pieces. And now, so when you have like the last few edges, if there's like 3 different edges and all of these edges have 3 different pieces, what you can do is just first just make it so that 2 are on one edge piece, and then just replace that with an unsolved edge, and then you'll still have 3, but this time at least 2 of them should have a solved piece. So with that said, you can just move one to the top again and solve one of the edge pieces. Move that up, replace that with the unsolved one, and swap. So for the last 2 edges, if you have something like this, we've tackled this in the 4x4, just flip one of them. Now just move one of them, and then so that one of the edges are solved. Wait. Yeah, actually we want to flip this. And just move one of them, so even though this is unsolved, and just flip it, move this back. So this should solve, and all the edges should be solved, but on the 5x5 you may get, most of the times you'll get something that looks like this, and you'll have no idea how to fix it. But there is one parity algorithm for the 5x5, and what you do is you keep this at the top, and to flip this and to correct this, you do this algorithm. And that should solve all of the edge pieces. So now what you can do is just solve it like a normal 3x3. So that's it for the 5x5 and this tutorial. I think it might be more complicated, but there's a lot less algorithms. As you can see, only one additional one to learn. And make sure, if you weren't quite clear or you didn't really understand the concepts in this video, then make sure to watch the 4x4 video if you haven't done so, and first master the 4x4. And if you are still having trouble with the 4x4, just go back to the 3x3. It's kind of like a progression. You can't just jump to the 5x5 without knowing a 3x3 or a 4x4. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope this was helpful, and see you next time.